Hello everyone. To begin, let's cut the fabric. Place the pattern pieces flat, laying them in a single layer to cut the cone of the hat. Be sure to mark notches, and then cut out the pieces. Now, we are cutting the crown of the hat. Since the hat cone spirals, I decided to cut it on the floor because my table isn't large enough for this. Be sure to mark notches carefully. Next, we'll attach the zipper. You'll need to remove a few zipper teeth to create a 1 cm, 3/8 inch seam allowance to ensure the needle doesn't hit the metal teeth. Leave about 1 cm, 3/8 inch. Now, stitch the zipper into place with a 0.7 cm, 1/4 inch seam allowance, sewing along the inner edge the entire length. I usually pin the zipper first. After pinning, move on to the sewing machine. Remember, the seam allowance is 0.7 cm, 1/4 inch, and I'm using a standard presser foot. Once you've sewn it, trim off any extra teeth and excess zipper, leaving a 1 cm, 3/8 inch seam allowance. Next, pin the top of the hat in place so that the zipper ends up inside. This can be tricky because it's a narrow piece, but it's the most challenging part of sewing this hat. I pin it at the beginning to make things easier, then proceed to the sewing machine. When sewing, remember to align the notches you marked earlier with chalk so everything fits together properly. As we sew, the hat will naturally spiral. After sewing, turn the hat right side out, gently pressing the seam allowances open and pulling the corner out. It's easy to do since the corner has the zipper teeth. Next, prepare the crown pieces of the hat. Stitch them together with a 1 cm, 3/8 inch seam allowance. After sewing, press the seam allowances open. Now, let's prepare the zipper for the crown, just as we did before. Remove the excess teeth to leave a 1 cm, 3/8 inch seam allowance. Pin the zipper to one side of the crown piece. I only pin the beginning since it's unnecessary to pin the entire round. Now we can sew. Again, use a 0.7 cm, 1/4 inch seam allowance. Stop before reaching the end, as we need to trim the zipper to fit perfectly. Cut off the excess teeth and zipper length, then finish sewing, aligning the zipper and stitching to the edge. Next, align the crown pieces, placing them right sides together. I pin them, matching the notches, and sew all around with a 0.7 centimeters, a quarter inch, seam allowance. Turn the crown right side out and smooth everything carefully. Now, top stitch 1 cm, 3/8 inch, from the fold, depending on your model. Then press the crown again. Finally, pin the top of the hat to the crown, aligning the notches, and sew with a 1 cm, 3/8 inch, seam allowance. And that's it, your hat is ready.